The moment the news broke, it sent a shockwave through the entire tennis world. David Ferrer, captain of the Spanish Davis Cup team and one of the most respected figures in Spanish tennis, stepped into the press room in Bologna with an expression that revealed everything before he even spoke. Carlos Alcaraz was officially out. And what Ferrer said next was even more surprising, because it wasn't just a confirmation, it was a message with depth, emotion, and a level of honesty that few expected. Ferrer didn't hide the reality. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't offer excuses. The first words he said were direct, powerful, and revealing. "We are weakened. We know it." From that moment, every journalist in the room understood the magnitude of the situation. Losing the world number 1 days before the start of the Final 8 of the Davis Cup was not just a setback, it was a blow that changed the entire dynamic of the team. Yet Ferrer immediately followed with something that nobody expected. A surprising message of confidence. "I trust my team. We are going to compete. We will have our chance." The context worsened when he explained the timing of the injury. Ferrer revealed that he first found out something was wrong right after the final against Sinner in Turin. Carlos had already felt discomfort in the hamstring during the semi-final, but the final intensified everything. Ferrer described how, the moment Alcaraz arrived in Bologna, the medical staff acted fast. MRI, evaluation, consultation with the RFET doctors and with Juanjo Lopez, Alcaraz's personal doctor. Everything was done in less than 12 hours. The surprising part came when Ferrer admitted that the situation changed drastically from one moment to the next. When he arrived yesterday, everything looked good. Then things changed. A sentence that left many questions in the air. Ferrer then delivered the phrase that truly shocked the tennis world. "Carlos was at very high risk." That was the line that made it clear this wasn't just a precaution or a simple decision. Ferrer explained that the risk of suffering a muscle tear was extremely high, and that risking the Davis Cup could have cost Alcaraz the start of the 2026 season, including the Australian Open. When talking about the team, Ferrer shifted to a tone that was almost emotional. He highlighted the commitment of John Munar, Pablo Carreño, Pedro Martinez, and Marcel Granollers. He reminded the press that this same group achieved the greatest comeback in Spain's Davis Cup history, in Marbella. And then he said something that resonated deeply. "If we are here, it is because of them." Ferrer even allowed himself a brief smile when talking about Granollers, whom he described as the leader of the team, and a different player this year, confident and ready for responsibility. Spain will now face the Czech Republic without its biggest star. Ferrer knows the team is hurt, he knows the mission is harder, but he left one last message that defined the atmosphere. "I see the light again. I have faith. I think we can do something big." What happened next behind the scenes was even more revealing. While David Ferrer spoke calmly in the press room, the internal reality of the Spanish team had been chaotic for nearly 24 hours. When Carlos Alcaraz arrived in Bologna on Monday afternoon, after a 3.5-hour trip from Turin, the entire entourage expected clarity, but nobody expected the result they received. The medical team led by Dr. Angels Ruiz Cotoro had everything prepared: immediate MRI, physical assessment, and constant communication with Juanjo Lopez, Alcaraz's personal doctor in Murcia. The first information that leaked was encouraging. Overload, no tear. That was the message the Federation communicated privately to the media. The initial plan was simple: no training Tuesday, test session Wednesday, decision Thursday morning before the match against the Czech Republic. But the situation shifted dramatically when the specialists analyzed the images from multiple angles. What appeared to be a simple overload revealed something more delicate: edema inside the hamstring muscle. Not a tear, but the step right before one. The medical staff warned Ferrer immediately. If Carlos plays at match intensity, the chances of a tear are high. Very high. That was the turning point. From that moment, Ferrer and the medical team had to make the kind of decision that defines careers. It was not just about the Davis Cup. It was about the Australian Open, the start of the 2026 season, and the risk of damaging the continuity that Alcaraz has fought so hard to build after months of physical improvement. Inside the team hotel, the conversation between Alcaraz and Ferrer was long, private, and emotional. Carlos wanted to play. He made that clear. Playing for Spain is something he takes personally, Ferrer said it himself. Carlos feels the Davis Cup more than anyone. But even Ferrer admitted that the medical reality could not be ignored. He was at a lot of risk. The final decision was taken by consensus. The Federation doctor, Alcaraz's personal doctor, Ferrer, and the player himself. And the conclusion was undeniable. Carlos had to withdraw. When the news became official, the entire Spanish locker room reacted with a mix of sadness and responsibility. João Munar immediately stepped forward, knowing he would now assume the #1 role. Pablo Carreño, who has fought back from the hell of injuries, promised full commitment. Pedro Martinez shifted his preparation immediately. Marcel Granollers, serene and experienced, told Ferrer, "Leave it at 1-1. I'll take care of the doubles." And yet, despite the seriousness of the moment, Ferrer's message to the team was clear. "We are weakened, yes, but not defeated. From outside, the challenge looks impossible." The Czech Republic arrives with one of its strongest generations in decades. Without Alcaraz, Spain loses the spearhead, the guarantee point, the emotional leader. But inside the Spanish camp, the mood is different, calmer, but defiant. Ferrer's belief is not forced, and the team feels it. As the press conference ended, Ferrer said one more sentence that captured the heart of the moment. "Carlos is hurt, but we are still alive." What followed after Alcaraz's withdrawal was a shift that nobody expected. Not from Ferrer, not from the federation, and certainly not from Carlos himself. Because even though the injury ruled him out of competition, it did not stop him from delivering a message that changed the tone of the entire week in Bologna. Late Tuesday evening, after the announcement, Alcaraz gathered the team privately inside the hotel. He didn't want cameras, didn't want a social media post. He wanted something real, something personal. Witnesses inside the room described the atmosphere as silent, tense, and emotional. Carlos spoke first, and what he said shook his teammates. He admitted he was devastated. Not angry, not frustrated, devastated. Playing for Spain means more to him than any personal milestone, more than ranking points, more than titles. He said openly that missing the Davis Cup hurt more than losing the final to Sinner. Because this was not about him. This was about the team, the flag, the responsibility he carries as the world #1. But then his message changed direction completely. Instead of speaking about what he couldn't do, he focused on what the rest of the team could do. And the speech that followed became the emotional spark that Ferrer later hinted at in the press conference. According to team sources, Carlos told them, "If I can't fight on the court, I will fight with you from outside. You are ready. You can beat anyone. I believe in you." That sentence hit hard. João Munar was the first to react. He told Carlos that the responsibility he carried these months, fighting for #1, handling the rivalry with Sinner, surviving a demanding schedule, was an example for all of them. Pablo Carreño, always calm, said that the team was not losing a leader. They were gaining motivation. Pedro Martinez added that playing for Spain without Carlos adds pressure, yes, but also pride. Ferrer stood quietly during much of the conversation. But when he finally spoke, the room shifted again. David Ferrer is not a captain who raises his voice or plays with theatrics. His words carry weight because everyone knows he lived these moments as a player. He said, "Spain is here because of all of you. Carlos leads us, yes. But leadership is not only winning. Leadership is also knowing when to step aside so others can fight. And now it's your turn." The players nodded. Not out of obligation but because they felt it. With Alcaraz ruled out, Ferrer reorganized the strategy from scratch. Munar would open the tie as Spain's #1 singles player. Carreño, experienced and emotionally stable, would take the second singles slot. The doubles remained the anchor, Marcel Granollers and Pedro Martinez, a pair that knows how to play under real pressure. The challenge is enormous. The Czech Republic arrives with depth, youth, and momentum. Spain will not have its superstar. But what happened in that hotel room changed something. Not in the draw. Not in the lineup. In their mindset. Because for the first time since the withdrawal was confirmed, the Spanish team no longer felt weakened. They felt responsible and united. What happened next turned this story from a simple injury update into one of the most revealing moments of Carlos Alcaraz's career. Because after withdrawing, after speaking privately with the team, after accepting he would miss the Davis Cup, Carlos made one more decision that nobody saw coming. He told Ferrer he would stay in Bologna. Not one day. Not until the press conference. He would stay the entire week, even though he wouldn't play a single point. At first, Ferrer tried to convince him to go home, rest, recover, and begin treatment immediately. But Carlos was firm. He said, "I can recover in Spain. But the team needs to know I'm here. Even if I can't play, I can help." That changed everything. Instead of flying back to Murcia, Carlos joined the team meeting on Tuesday night, sat next to Munar during tactical discussions, asked Carreño what patterns the Czech #1 tends to repeat, and even exchanged ideas with Granollers for the doubles match. Not as a captain, not as a coach, as a teammate who didn't want to leave them alone. This gesture surprised the entire staff. Many world #1s, when injured, leave immediately. They focus on recovery, protect their schedule, avoid risk. But Carlos chose the opposite. Not for publicity, he didn't record anything, didn't post anything, didn't speak to the press. He stayed because he felt responsibility. Meanwhile, Ferrer continued shaping the new battle plan. With Alcaraz out, Spain must win with intelligence rather than firepower. Munar will need to play long rallies, bring opponents into physical battles, and take advantage of his stability. Carreño must rely on experience, not on pace. The doubles team must be clinical, because they might decide everything. Ferrer said it openly to the squad. "We can win, but only if we act as one." And that's when the biggest plot twist arrived. On Wednesday morning, before the last training session, Carlos walked onto the court, not to hit balls, but to stand next to the team and give them his last message before the competition. The staff didn't expect him to be emotional, but he was. He told them this: "In Turin, Sinner beat me because he played the details better. If we want to win here, we must win the details. Every return, every rally, every break point, they matter. And you can do it. I'm sure of it." Ferrer later admitted to journalists that this speech changed the atmosphere instantly. Because something became clear. Yes, Spain lost its world #1. But it gained something else: a leader willing to stay even when he couldn't play. The Spanish locker room in Bologna now carries a strange mixture of pressure and inspiration. They know the challenge is enormous. They know the Czech Republic arrives as a favorite. They know everything has become more complicated. But they also know this: Carlos Alcaraz didn't leave. He stayed. And for a team fighting without its superstar, sometimes that's enough to believe.